number down and dusted. That is fantastic. And now it's time for us to say a very good morning, Mr. Nico Kleynhans, and thank you for your time, sir.
Good morning to you and also to the listeners. So, what do you do if you want to be an entrepreneur and you're a teenager? What are the challenges that you face? So, I want to mention three teenagers and what they did, how they approached the problem. The first is a 10-year-old listener. I know he's a listener because his mom stopped me at the local Checkers the other day and told me his story. Now, he was motivated to sell popcorn at school. And not only is he selling his popcorn at school, he wants to make his product stand out and look different from any other boy who's selling popcorn at school. So he's packaged his popcorn. He's got his mom to make labels for his popcorn so that it has his name and he has his contact details. So he has branded his product. While it's plain popcorn, it is different because it looks different to what anybody else can offer. He's also chosen a product which is very clever because you can have plain popcorn, you can have sweet popcorn, you can have salted, butter, various flavors. So he can also extend the range of his popcorn. It's not an expensive product to make, and the markup can be reasonable so that he can get a reasonable return for his popcorn. So it's a way of getting his business started, and he can learn how then to deal with other business ideas as well. So that is the first I step stepping stone for a business. Entrepreneur number two is a 13-year-old young girl. Her mom is unemployed. So her idea of business is not only to make some money, but that money feeds her family.
Sure.
So if she can't make money that day, her family are not going to have food. And she has convinced the teacher to allow her to sell sweets. She's worked out what kind of sweets the kids like. She's worked out how much she has to sell the sweets for so that she can make some money. She's worked out how much her schoolmates can afford so that her cost price has to be worked out ahead of time, what the selling price is. She knows what kind of sweets the kids like, and she can take home enough so that the family can eat that evening. All worked well until one afternoon her takings for the day got stolen.
Oy, oy, oy.
And that was a catastrophe for her. The teacher announced to the class that her money had been stolen and asked the class what they could do about it. They had an emergency meeting and they decided they would, out of their pocket money, replace what had been stolen, even although they hadn't taken the money. So that evening, she could still go home. She could still provide food for her family, and she could still have enough to buy more sweets to sell the next day. So, this is the important thing when you're dealing with entrepreneurship. You've also got to be aware of the fact that you still have responsibilities towards other people as well. And I'm glad that that particular class understood that principle, that if you're running a business, you have some responsibilities for other people as well. Now, third is a young boy who's 12 years old. Now, his pocket money is not enough for all his needs. He loves
Is it
soccer,
ever?
and he's also had to work out, he's done some research. He's worked out what kind of sweets his friends like. He's worked out how much his friends are prepared to pay. So he's done some research. He knows what his friends are prepared to pay. So when he chooses what he's going to put in that packet of sweets, because he doesn't sell only one sweet, he makes up a packet of sweets. he's able to get his pricing right. And that's part of setting up a business package going. Now, those are people who buy ready-made products, except for the first. But if you're wanting to look at business, how about talking to your parent and saying, why don't we make up something? Making up Turkish Delight, for instance, is an interesting idea. Turkish Delight is quite easy to make. Marshmallows are quite easy to make. Both of those products, you can have variations of the product. It also means that when you make it up, you will not have any competition. Now, it may mean that you have to go and talk to your school and say, why don't we have once a week a special entrepreneurship day when we invite all the boys and girls to have tables so that everybody brings money. It puts more money in the pool for that day, and it's then easier for others also to set up businesses. So it's just a way of encouraging other people also to benefit, but certainly making your own, not only the cupcakes, which everybody wants to do. Try something different. And notice the trends that a lot of people like sour things. Now, your mom should be able to help you creating sour-based sweets, and that then can also be an issue. Now, many years ago, before every kid had his own cell phone, and everybody wanted a cell phone, Carl lived with us. And Carl, on their business day, realized that the mobile shops had plastic models of every mobile phone. And he went along to the mobile phones, and he convinced the shop owners to give him 50 mobile phone plastic models. And on their business day, he sold those plastic phones. Now, it was clear they were plastic, but they opened up and they had buttons that pushed, but they were not working models. In 30 minutes, he sold those plastic phones. He made an horrendous amount of money, but it made a difference, and he earned a lot more pocket money in those few minutes than he would have got from us. Last thing, and then we're probably going to run out of time. I entered competitions when I was a boy 50 years ago. And I listened to a program called Test the Team. And I worked out that those professors were really good, except for one subject. They didn't know anything about American geography.
Okay.
And if you could submit a question that they couldn't answer, you would earn the equivalent of 1,000 rand in today's money.
Okay.
And so I went to spend a couple of days in the library, got hold of encyclopedias, and in that year, I won the equivalent of 3,000 rand. That 3,000 rand got me an awful lot of chemicals because I was a nerd who was into chemistry. And I was able to afford chemicals that I would not normally be able to afford. So there are plenty of ideas you can try.
Yeah.
And by the way, when Fanta introduced Fanta Grape, I wrote to the MD and told him what I thought of Fanta Grape. He was impressed. And so that got me another 3 cases of Fanta Grape. So there are plenty of ideas you can do as a young entrepreneur.
Come on.
Adults are impressed when a young person makes a response. And often that counts in your favor. So let's get some ideas going. And if you send those responses that you've had to questions at Northwood, I'm more than happy to share some of those so that others can benefit as well. But entrepreneurship is a good idea, and you are never too young to start trying to be financially independent.
That's brilliant. Nico, thank you so much. We really appreciate it. And again, that email address is questions, with an S at it, questions@northwood.co.za. Nico, thank you so much.